Geek to me radio, da 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 da. Geek to me radio, da 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 da. Welcome, geeks and nerds, girls and boys, to a brand new episode of Geek to Me Radio. Tonight, we have my interview with Rick and Marty Lagina about The Curse of Oak Island, their brand new season on the History Channel. After that, we're talking with Chief Strategic Officer of Moosylvania, Andrew Cohen, about a brand new beer that's out, and more. Stand by. We're talking TV, comics and movies, and video games. And if you don't know Star Trek from Star Wars, we'll try to explain. There are 12 doctors from Hogwarts houses, one ring rules them all. To be the greatest Pokemon master, you must catch them all. You must catch them all. Try to catch them all. Gotta catch them all. Gotta catch them all. And for those of you driving around the greater St. Louis area tonight listening to us on the Big 550 KTRS, hello to all of you. Thank you very much for tuning in. No video tonight. Joey V is at an undisclosed location, probably soaking in a jacuzzi somewhere, and that's bad for the electronics and the camera. So I said, take the night off, and he will be hopefully rejoining us next week. So no video, but if you are streaming us on the KTRS website or on the KTRS app, hello to all of you. And of course, as always, if you're hearing us after the fact, in the podcast form, we sincerely appreciate you listening, finding us there. I love the comments and emails I get from all of you who listen after the fact, so I don't judge you any less differently. I don't love you any less differently than the people who listen to us live, but it's always fun when you're able to live. You can text us your thoughts and questions throughout the hour. We have a very fun show tonight. I had this to play last week, but we just ran out of time. I got to interview Rick and Marty Lagina, History Channel's The Curse of Oak Island. It's fascinating. Treasure hunts, haunted stuff, ghosts. I got to talk with them, and here is that conversation. Right now, we're joined by Rick and Marty Lagina talking about their History Channel series, The Curse of Oak Island. Gentlemen, thank you for your time this morning.
Well, thank you for having us on.
Of course. So when you're doing these shows like this, History Channel has a lot of great programming. I'm always fascinated by the types of shows that are on there. Talk a little bit. Tell people about who might not be familiar with what exactly your show is about.
This show is very simply about a incredibly complex, mysterious, and 230-year-old treasure hunt. All kinds of people have tried, all kinds of people have failed. The famous people, President Roosevelt, have followed this mystery because it's very compelling. And the show is about how Rick and I, my brother, are trying to figure this thing out and put a great treasure up on the ground. That's what it's about.
It seems like these types of shows always resonate with people because people throughout time, a good mystery story is something that people always want to tune in for. I remember as a little kid watching Geraldo try to get into the Al Capone vaults, which was obviously a disappointing story as it all ended. Yeah. But what do you think it is about this kind of thing, a hidden treasure? Or we just saw the big thing about the ship washing ashore in Florida after the hurricane. What do you think it is about this type of story that just compels people to want to tune in and watch?
Everybody loves a treasure hunt, and this is a good one. I mean, when we read about it years ago, pirates and booby traps and deep underground and great treasures and major historical figures, curses. Yeah, thank you. Curses. I mean, it's got everything.
And with the History Channel having such great programming, was this this obviously was? Did you shop this idea around? Was the History Channel someone who approached you? How did the partnership come about?
We didn't even want to be on TV. No way. I'm serious. They had to talk. They had to talk us into it. We were busy doing this before they showed up.
Yeah,
but
hard sell.
Yeah, especially on Big Brother there. But I, the thing I think people really like about this is because of that. We didn't shop it. We didn't want to be on TV. I think it's very. Well, I know it is very, very, very real. Everything they see is real, and I think the viewers can sense it. They know we're really, really trying to unearth a great treasure.
And when you say something like, there's a curse attached, a lot of people will be like, no thanks, we'll leave it to someone else. You must have either a very brave fortitude, or do you kind of not really buy into the whole supernatural curse thing? What kind of is your mindset when you're doing this investigation and on this quest?
Rick, I'll let you take that one.
Well, I think, neither Marty nor I are really wired to concern ourselves with that. Sure, is it out there? Is it part of the lore, part of the attraction, really, of this mystery? Sure it is. But at the end of the day, we are so focused on, solving this mystery that it doesn't impact our lives per se. But I will tell you this, that some pretty very logical people have experienced some pretty strange things on this island. And I will say this, I think I can speak for Marty. If you're out here on this island in the middle of the night where it's black as black gets, it's easy to let your imagination run away with you. But does the curse impact our work? No, but the harsh reality is that 6 people have tragically perished. And the curse says 7 must die. But does it, control our efforts here? No, it doesn't. Call us foolish or call us mindful. That's for each of us to decide. But it doesn't rule what we do here.
Yeah, I don't believe in curses at all until I'm alone on that island at night. Then I start to maybe believe a little bit.
So you're not superstitious, but you're little stitious, is what you're saying.
Yeah, I think that's accurate. Yeah, and I think everybody is, right? When something really weird happens and your skin crawls in the back of your neck, I mean, say, I don't really believe in that, but I'm getting the hell out of here.
So you said the curse says 7 must die. You said 6 have already gone. Is this something like that joke about hunters where you just have to outrun your cameraman or the other hunter behind you? Do you guys send in, okay, let's send the producer in first on this one just to see? How do you guys approach those kind of things?
Hey, that crossed our minds, but the curse is very explicit. The person that gets killed has to be actively searching for treasure, so the cameramen get a reprieve, you see.
Okay, well, that maybe one of the safer cameras.
Faster than the slowest guy. Yeah.
And when you're doing this, what has surprised you the most in doing the research, in making this series? Obviously, it's fantastical. It's the mystery behind it. But what has surprised each one of you the most when you're undertaking this? And we'll start with Rick on this one.
For me, the information hunt was always very important. I wanted to know who, what, when, where, why, and how, and I still do. And I think that as this research evolves, I think it just lends itself to the reason why this mystery has endured for so long. 2.25 centuries. I mean, that's quite something about a tiny treasure story, about a tiny island in the North Atlantic. And it's because of that, the richness of this ever-evolving story. Is a treasure hunt real? Do we hope to put real treasure on the deck? Absolutely. But the information hunt, to me, is exceedingly interesting and exciting.
And Marty?
Oh, the big surprise for me is that we haven't solved this completely yet. There are 2 surprises. That's one, because I thought we were so smart. We were gonna figure this out where everybody else failed, and we have pushed the envelope or moved the dial a lot more than anybody. But it's not done, and I thought it'd be done a long time ago. The other thing is, I came on as a true skeptic. I thought nothing happened of any importance prior to 1795 when this was discovered. Well, I can tell you for sure, and based on some discoveries this year that people will see, that a lot happened on Oak Island prior to 1795, and maybe way prior to 1795. Lost that one out. Way prior to 1795.
And for those of you who are listening, want to keep up with more of it, The Curse of Oak Island returns Tuesday, November 12th on the History Channel. Check your local listings. Rick and Marty, thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Take care.
The History Channel, you can catch The Curse of Oak Island on that now in its new season. Thanks again to Rick and Marty Lagina for their time. We're going to take a quick commercial break. We're going to come right back. After that, we'll be talking with Andrew Cohen, the Chief Strategic Officer. I almost messed it up that time for Moosylvania. We'll talk about Moose Space beer and a lot more. You're listening to Geek to Me Radio on the Big 550 KTRS. Please stand by.
Hey, you guys, this is Raphael of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. And after we've kicked Shredder's butt, we all get down in the sewer and we listen to Geek to Me Radio. Turtle Power!
Coming back with the voice of Rob Paulson, bringing us back. Want to make sure we tell you about our premier sponsor. Without these people, we would not still be on the air. And that, of course, is the Greater St. Charles Convention and Visitors Bureau. Longtime listeners will know the website Discover St. Charles. That's discoverstcharles.com. They've been with me since I launched the radio show in 2016. I was just talking with Pete about that. It's been 437 episodes as of today, and the city of St. Charles has been there the entire time. It's a great place to visit. They are gearing up to start their big Christmas Traditions Festival. It is the longest running and largest Christmas festival in the entire country. In fact, it's celebrating its 50th season this year. They're pulling out all the stops, obviously, for their big event. So if you've never made plans to come see Christmas Traditions, I know some of my listeners, I know some of you out there on the West Coast keep thinking, well, maybe we'll come in. This is a great time to visit the city of St. Charles. Whether you want to stay at a 5-star hotel with world-class accommodations like the Ameristar, or whether you want a bed and breakfast right there on Boonslick Trail. They've got the bed and breakfast right there you can stay at. If you're a camper, they have campsites all around the area. Plenty of places to stay no matter what your style or your budget. So you can plan your trip at the website discoverstcharles.com. This is an area that is made up entirely of small, local, independent businesses. There aren't any chains down there along North and South Main Street. You might go to Novellis if you like a really good breakfast and a mimosa, or you might want to check out some barbecue, or maybe you want to get some gooey butter cookies or something like that. These are all the shops, the restaurants, a lot of these small businesses, and it's never been more important than now in this economy to support small businesses. So if you're local, haven't been across the bridge in a while, maybe you're in Alton, maybe you're in South County, make the trip over to St. Charles. Again, whether you're near or far, discoverstcharles.com is the website. As we always say, it's an historically good time. My next guest is the Chief Strategic Officer. I nailed it that time. For Moosylvania, based right here in St. Louis, they've got a new beer out to celebrate their anniversary that they partnered with Four Hands on called Moose Space. Play on MySpace. Andrew Cohen, thanks for coming in the studio.
Thanks for having me.
Of course. So talk a little bit about the company itself, Moosylvania. It's an advertising. You do a little bit of everything. It's very creative.
Yeah, you'll like this. The story comes from Rocky and Bullwinkle. So the writer wanted Moosylvania to be the 51st state in America. That's where Bullwinkle is from in the show. And so he went around the country getting signatures, demanding statehood for Moosylvania. And it was in the 60s, and went out on the White House lawn, demanded statehood, almost got shot.
Oh, my gosh.
He was going around the country, though, and the experiential marketing was really like the biggest thing at that point that he had done in marketing. And because he didn't make the feat to actually make it the 51st state, Nordy, our CEO and founder, when he went independent, he said, I have to kind of find something really unique, something that people will remember us by, something that people will struggle to say out loud. So everyone calls us Moose. But Moosylvania was born in 2003. 21 years later, here we are. We're making beer with Four Hands. We're having a great time doing it.
So beer for the 21st. Was that the thought behind this?
Yeah, last year Nordy was telling me, it was like, it's our 20th anniversary. It's a big deal. People get like gold watches and big things. And I said, who cares? 20 years. You're just telling yourself that's cool. 21st year, I said, I'm taking over, and here we go. We're going to have a great party. Why not have a beer for it? So we decided to do what all 21-year-olds do, have a drink and have a cold beer. It was a good idea.
And Four Hands is really great, obviously, because we were just talking off air about their Voltron beer that they had. It's currently out as well, but they launched that a little bit earlier this year with being directly tied. I always say Voltron is St. Louis anime because it was kind of here with the KPLR
Classic.
TV family and everything. So was that the first people? Was that like just a natural fit as far as you guys decided
First
to
phone
do?
call. Yeah, no, I called Kevin and I said, hey, we had a mutual connection. We worked with Ben Hillman out at Gastronauts Food Group. We helped with their kind of logo design and their business. So they're connected in Chesterfield downtown at the Four Hands location. So I said, hey, connect me with Kevin. It's the first guy I want to talk to about this. And our first phone call was like, electric. It's like, it's not as good as when I first met my wife, but it's pretty close because it was like everything you want to do and more, let's make it happen. And he was so cool. And he was like, let's rip the doors off this and let's do anything you want to do. So we had about 4 or 5 different creative sessions. Both teams got together. The Four Hands team's super fun, really creative people. They came to our place. We went to theirs. We showed him 30 designs on different can ideas, different names, different thoughts. And Kevin looked at this one and he said, that's the one. So it's called Moose Space. It's themed after MySpace. It's real retro looking. It's got a QR code that takes you to a fake MySpace website that we built. And it's just a lot of fun because Four Hands is a lot of fun. And together we made something that's just real unique, different, and they're selling it everywhere.
Are you not allowed to say some of the ones that got passed over, or can you talk about some of the ideas that got jettisoned?
We had like a burned CD look that was really, really cool. It was like, when you used to draw that like Superman S logo and you used to do like all the stuff on the CDs and you burn them and you write a bunch of stuff on there. So like we had that look. We had some that were inspired by like all the Juicy Couture, Von, Dutch, like Ed Hardy style. We just had a bunch of different stuff and we said, hey, it doesn't just have to say Moosylvania on the can. Like this is a Four Hands Moose collaboration. So we had a bunch of different names that I thought were really cool and like really retro and inspired. But everybody thinks a moose is a cool animal, and we hope it is. So when Kevin saw this, he was like, there's something about the fact that, you guys do social media all the time for all your clients. MySpace was like the original social media. It was like so weird, so cool, so different. It was like before ads really even existed. So he was like, I think there's something really neat here. And so we just took off as a team together and just built the whole campaign around it as if, this was a client. We were working on them. We treated ourselves like it, and we had a blast. And we launched Thursday with a party together down at their location downtown, and everybody had too much fun. It was a great time.
Do you still have access to your MySpace page?
I don't, and I have a new one though on this website, so you can kind of check me out at least. MySpace, you can still kind of get a throwback of it though. If you go into the site, you can kind of see what was going on back there. But honestly, I was a little past. I was like a AIM chatter. I wasn't really a MySpace junkie. But it is like, it gives you all the flashbacks when you go to moosespacebeer.com. You go check it out. It's inspired, themed, and looks just like MySpace.
Do you remember what the song you had?
Yes, we have. We kind of still have a little bit of that music in what we're doing. So you'll see, you actually, when you log into the site, you scan the QR code, or if you just go to it directly, you'll hear the dial-up internet go off. And you remember those days where you're just sitting there waiting and waiting and waiting. And luckily, we have some cool video animation to kind of get you through it. But it's like, hey, wait for this epic experience, because back in the day, you used to just sit there and you're on stage one. Man, stage one could take 5 minutes.
Right.
You have to really wait until you get to that internet firepower. So we kind of tried to recreate all the little bells and whistles from things about MySpace. We made a game, because I always like to have gamification. I think it just makes everything more fun. We built a like photo hunt game. And so very similar when you're sitting at the bar and you'd be clicking the two photos that look alike. We created Moose Touch. It's on the site. And there's only images that were like famous 2003 photos that you're like looking for these 4 icons in. There's a leaderboard. People are playing. People are all about the game, and you can play it. And it just kind of gives you all the feels of like you're back at 2003 era, having a good time.
Wow, I was just having this conversation with some of my friends. It almost feels like when someone says something happened that this movie came out in '97, I'm like, oh, there was only 10 years. Yeah, oh my God, no, it wasn't. Ago. But I feel like it's that decade between 2000 and 2000. I'm not sure if people who were turn of the last century felt the same way. Obviously, they're not alive to ask him, but I almost feel like, oh, I forgot about that entire decade. And it seems like when you say 2003, I'm like, oh, that wasn't that. But then when you try to remember, it does seem so long ago. It's that, I don't know if there's a psychological term for it.
I think some of the music in the movies that were popular then, like they're just in your history book of like, yeah, it was like yesterday when you still know every word and you still watch these movies and you're like, that was 2003. We were like, there's some really, really classics out there that we found. And, 2003, the style alone was unique. Like what you were wearing, what you were kind of thinking about, like the internet in general was just a whole different animal. And so I think when we work every day on these screens, and especially in the advertising business, having a lot of fun with what the internet has is just a whole nother fun ball game, because you just don't even remember that it was so choppy and so it was like such a bad experience. And so now we have something really fun to do.
Yeah, I can still picture the wallpaper on my old Macintosh computer, and the little dots would connect to the modem, and then up to the AOL, and back down to the modem, and over to your phone. And if someone picked up the phone in your house, I'm trying to connect to the internet.
Totally,
it would just stop.
Wouldn't work.
It was crazy.
It's like Zoolander. It's like that's like you're like literally the files are in the computer stuff. Like, and you're like, that's what it was. It was like you were just sitting there waiting for things to happen, and now your phone is pretty much everything. So we tried to take that a little bit into what we did together and scan a QR code because we all know that the phone is basically the computer. I
feel like we were the original pioneers because there was the dark time before the internet, and then we kind of worked out all the problems, and now people are just on their phones and immediately can pull up whatever they want. It's the kids don't know how good they have it today, doggone it.
The kids, at least if they're 21, they can go enjoy a beer with us. That's what we say.
Exactly. And this will be at Schnook's locations, I'm sure, the Moose Space.
Yeah, Schnook's locations. It's on premise at all the Four Hands locations and a couple more, on our Instagram and on there. So I'll kind of drop in different locations that pick it up. But we are able to get a lot put into stores for this small limited run. And we're super excited because we work in the alcohol space. We were with Bacardi when we started. We're with Gallo out of California. We work on a lot of alcohol every day. So it's kind of like we get to do this every day. We've been doing this for 21 years. Now we did a little bit for ourselves, and it was kind of fun going through the creative process, being like, I don't know if I like that copy line. Usually it's the client telling you what they like. We got to be the client this time, and Kevin and his whole Four Hands team was just terrific. They just really enjoyed it.
Did that make it harder that you guys were the client than it is kind of satisfying? Because a client obviously has a concrete. You guys were kind of sorting it out as you went. Did that make it harder?
It made it more interesting. I think in my role I get to be more of a, hey, I think we should do this versus I got to be the one to go figure it out. And so the team, I think, found the pressure to be on and off. I mean, we still just getting it launched and getting it out there, and then the influencers we had at the party and how we work with them, there is a little bit of like, I don't want to mess this up, right? But like at the same time, the whole idea is that you get to have fun every day. You make a beer, you turn 21. Don't take life too seriously because, you're grateful that you're in business for 21 years. So I would say not like super stressed as much as it's funny because Nordy, our CEO and founder, he wrote a couple of books. He just launched his third book about prompting originality, which is all about AI. It's a real cool book, real different. What you should prompt it with when you're on ChatGPT and how to get different things out of it. And he was going around the office and he was like, which client wants a book? Let's send him a book. And I'm like listening to him. I'm like, 5 minutes ago, I literally just walked by. I said, which client wants a beer? Let's send him a beer. I'm like, what different worlds we live in.
Right.
How fun is that? Like he's pawning books and I'm pawning beer. So I'm having a good time. That's for sure.
And if you're just now tuning in, we're talking with Andrew Cohen, the Chief Strategic Officer for Moosylvania. If you'd like, I know we don't have video tonight, so the chats are down, but if you have a question you'd like to ask, you can send it on the KTRS text lines at 84126. I'm horrible about looking at the text lines. I promise I'm doing better. I'll try to do better. We're going to go ahead and take another brief commercial break. We will come right back. We'll do some 2003 trivia. We'll kind of let you know what was going on in the year 2003, and we'll talk more about Moose Space Beer. We might get into some movie reviews. We don't know. Anything could happen. You're listening to Geek to Me Radio on the Big 550 KTRS. Please stand by.
This is Kevin Conroy, the voice of Batman. You're listening to Geek to Me Radio.
Welcome back to the show. Geek to Me Radio, heard here every Sunday night on the Big 550 KTRS. I'm your host, James Enstall. We want to make sure to remind you about Two Rivers Comic Con. St. Louis needed a Comic Con, darn it, and we're the ones to bring it to you. Two Rivers Comic Con, the number 2, riverscomiccon.com. Unfortunately, we did lose Kevin Conroy back in 2022, but we're bringing the other members of the Justice League in for this. So if you've ever wanted to meet Phil Lamar, Susan Eisenberg, or Maria Canals Barrera, they'll be in attendance. So mark your calendar from May 23rd through the 25th. It's in historic St. Charles at the Foundry there on Riverside, and also at the Steel Shop, where we're going to have a bunch of fantastic comic book talent. So we're bringing in my personal favorite Spider-Man artist, Mark Bagley will be there, the successor to Stan Lee. Stan Lee handpicked Roy Thomas to be his successor when he gave over the editor duties at Marvel Comics, so we'll have Roy Thomas there as well. We're going to have artists like Keith Williams, Chuck Patton, who worked on Justice League and New Teen Titans, and also produced a lot of TV. He worked on the Spawn animated series as well. Fantastic people like that. Stephen Butler, if you're a Into the Spider-Verse fan, Stephen Butler helped design the Scarlet Spider, and so many more that I'm forgetting to name right off the top of my head. But check them out on the website, the number 2, riverscomiccon.com. Tickets are now on sale at early bird pricing. Ticket prices will go up starting December the 1st. So you've got a couple weeks left to grab your tickets now while they're still at the early bird pricing. And it's going to be a lot of fun. Obviously, St. Charles, a lot of free parking down there, so you're not going to worry about that. It's one of those things you'll probably want to come all 3 days because there's going to be a lot to do. This is the Comic-Con by the fans, for the fans. We're looking to have a lot of great energy, and we've already got plans for year 2 and a year 3. So this year's theme is superheroes, hence the Justice League and our Spider-Man artists and everything like that. So check them out. If you're a vendor and might want to set up a booth at the convention, we do have some dealer space, as well as if you're a local artist and want to come, you can reach out to us on the website for that as well. The number 2, riverscomiccon.com. Make sure you check that out. Talking here with Andrew Cohen for a little while longer. The hour, we're already halfway through the hour. I'm not sure why the hour flies by so quickly, but he and I were discussing 2003 trivia because, as we said in the last segment, it seems so long ago, and yet it doesn't seem that long ago. And I think you pulled up some stuff on your end. I think we're probably looking at different websites.
We are.
But I like, it says, at the time, the average college graduate had $18,630 in student loan debt. And I'm sure that some of you are laughing right now who may have just graduated from college and you're smoking like, that's all they had? So that's interesting. You found some movie stuff on your end.
Yeah, I got a couple of movies. Do you know the total gross of Finding Nemo from 2003? Total gross, I think, of all time, it looks like now.
Total box office gross?
Yeah, it's a big number.
I'm going to say, whether or not it was adjusted for inflation, I'm going to say $900 million.
$339 million at the time.
Okay.
Maybe no inflation.
Okay,
but,
maybe that. I don't know if that's just rental or if that's box office sales. If it's like rentals and streaming now, I'm not sure.
I would assume, I don't know, but what do you think inside the top 10? You think you can go with the whole top 10?
Ooh, for 2003? I'm going to have to say, well, it was an Oscar winner, so the second Lord of the Rings movie.
Lord of the Rings,
had to be in there. Return of the King, okay.
Yes. Very good. A couple more things I think that are your style for sure.
2003. I love the film, but I think I don't think it was cracked the top 10. It was Daredevil with Ben Affleck and Julia.
Daredevil that was not in there. Not in the top. The 26th Daredevil.
Okay. I again, if you're listening right now and you're saying, what is he thinking? Watch the director's cut. It makes all the difference. Gosh, again, I'm drawing blanks.
I'm going to give you Jim Carrey is in one. Very classic. Morgan Freeman.
Oh, that was where he gets the powers of God. Bruce Almighty. Gosh, that seems like it was before 2000.
Probably one of the most Will Ferrell classic holiday movies.
Oh, Elf. That's right.
7 on the list. Can you believe it? I bet that streaming has to be close to the top now.
That's got to be. Wow.
We got an Arnold Schwarzenegger film in there.
In 2003, so it wouldn't be Eraser because that was 90s. Arnold Schwarzenegger. The Holiday? It wouldn't be Jingle All the Way, would it?
Term 3. Was he in? He was in Term 3.
He was. Yeah.
Rise of the Machines.
Okay. Yeah, because that was the female Terminator shows up in that one.
We got Johnny Depp, fresh out of jail.
Pirates of the Caribbean.
Yep. Number 2. How about that?
I'm trying to think what number 1 would be then. My gosh.
Number 1 is an animated film.
2003 anime. I'm sure everyone's screaming at their radio right now because they probably know it. I'm just going to check the text messages here. No one's yelling at me there at least. 2003 an animated film. Oh. Incredibles.
No. Finding Nemo.
Oh, see, you mentioned it, so I was thinking that was not on the list. Okay.
No, Finding Nemo, number 1.
All right. That's impressive.
Couple more, but, we can go somewhere else. I mean, there's Bad Boys 2. Chicago's on the list for somehow it made the top 10.
We were just talking about musical movies.
We were, actually. Right. There's one more in this sphere that I think you like. It's the second one in this collection. There's some special powers in this movie.
Second one in the collection. It's obviously before Batman Begins.
Correct. There's special powers across many characters. How about that? Not just a couple.
Oh, this would have been 2000. That would have been X-Men 2.
Correct.
Yes.
Very ding, ding, ding.
Yeah,
that's why it's your show.
One of the best X-Men movies, honestly. That was really solid.
That was number 6.
Wow.
You've got the whole pretty much top 10. Oh, wait. We've missed one very important movie at number 3. And very scientific in a way, very, very neat, very, very different from a lot of the movies you've seen.
Scientific. So I know Revenge of the Sith, Star Wars was 2005. So it probably wasn't. No, Attack of the Clones was 2002, so it wouldn't have been a Star Wars movie.
Not a Star Wars movie. They've had a couple of these, that's for sure. Actor is well known for Don't want to give you too big of a hint.
I might need it at this rate.
I'm going to go with the actor has been in a football movie other than this as a quarterback.
A football movie, but this is a science movie, so it rules out
sci-fi. I don't know if I would go science. Sci-fi movie.
Okay, so I'm thinking football movies. It wouldn't.
He was
have
a
been...
backup quarterback in the football movie.
The
Shane
Matrix.
Falco. Yes.
Oh, because he was in the Replacements. That's right. Keanu Reeves.
Number
Boy, those
3.
John Wick movies. Those are
wild.
absolutely
Matrix
insane.
movies are wild too.
Yeah.
Looking back on it, it was for its time.
Oh my gosh, I can't believe. I'm hoping that's one of the things they never try to remake those and because it was such an advancement considering again how we were talking about
sci-fi, that
mid ground between the 80s and the current technology we have.
Yeah, and Finding Nemo is the most animated thing you could see.
Right.
Pretty wild.
Yeah, that's amazing. I saw here on my end that I was looking the favorite Christmas gifts for the 2003 holiday season were Barbie as Supergirl, Barbie as Wonder Woman, Beyblades were huge, Bionicle, which I was a little past that point. Had regular Legos when I was little. The Game Boy Advance was a hot toy, and Yu-Gi-Oh! Was very big at the time. Sports facts from 2003, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers were the Super Bowl champs. Florida Marlins won the World Series, and the New Jersey I can't talk tonight at all. The New Jersey Devils had the Stanley Cup for 2003. Michael Jordan retired that year after playing for the Chicago Bulls and the Washington Wizards for 15 seasons, respectively, consecutively between the two.
Very classic #1 Billboard song, Top 100, 2003. It goes really well with my whole theme. It's a very party-based song.
Is it by Nelly?
Nope.
Wasn't a Nelly song. Okay.
Wasn't a Nelly song. Nelly made the list, I think, further down, but New York rapper. Had a good movie about him. He has a whole movie about him.
2003.
You probably haven't seen them. If you saw the movie at the end, he takes off his bulletproof vest and he just stands there and raps the song. The answer.
Yeah, I'm stumped.
The answer is "In the Club" by 50 Cent.
Oh, okay. I love that song. I just I'm not usually. I'm more of a 80s pop kind of guy because I feel like
I didn't know if you've seen Get Rich or Die Trying the movie. It's a good one though.
It was a long time ago. I saw it in the theater.
Classic.
In the theater. Yeah.
Some see it as a classic.
Trying to see if there's anything else I want to hit here because we were talking. Some of these facts are just depressing, so I'm trying to stay away from those. Alphabet Blocks and the game Checkers was introduced. I cannot talk. I'd like to buy a vowel, please. Were inducted into the National Toy Hall of Fame. iTunes launched. Apple launched iTunes and sold 1 million songs during the very first week. 10 of the most popular websites were Yahoo, AOL, MSN, Microsoft, eBay, Google, Go.com, which I haven't even thought about since probably 2003, Netscape, Windows Media, and Weather.com. Top 5 most popular here. We'll turn the tables on you. Top 5 most popular TV shows for the 2003-2004 season.
I'm gonna have to. It's probably some stuff that was just on for forever. Is it they came out that year, or is it just most popular? So Friends, maybe.
Friends is number 3.
Yeah,
yes,
okay.
You're correct.
NCIS or something, maybe. We got.
You're close. CSI.
CSI
was number 1.
Similar. CSI is number 1.
Reality. Two of these are reality shows.
Oh, like the Jersey Shore, maybe.
No. Singing contest show.
Oh. So American Idol.
Number 2. So you've got 1, 2, and 3 so far. Number 4 is also reality, and number 5 is a scripted series that lasted for quite a while.
Number 4, reality about music, singing.
No, this is just a reality competition show.
Not America's Got Talent. That was too late. It was. Can I buy a vowel? Let's see. What else?
It was a huge show. So many people
watched
The
Apprentice.
The Apprentice was number 4. Yes.
Let's get that call back to 2024. That was a good impression.
And the 5th one lasted for I think they went for 11 seasons. I believe maybe more. It was a hospital drama.
Yeah, it's like Grey's Anatomy. No, not Grey's. That's on season 25. West Wing. No, it's not it.
Goose from Top Gun was in it.
Oh.
George Clooney got a really kind of star-rocketed to fame for this one.
I'm out on this. This wasn't my kind of show.
ER.
Oh, yeah. See, all those blend together for me.
They do.
I don't even know.
Same with the CSI and the NSCIS.
They're all the same.
But those were the five top series for the 2003-2004 season. But it's, again, you kind of think back, it's like, ER didn't go off the air that long ago, and you look at like, oh no, it actually did.
Yeah, surprised that Seinfeld was it after
Seinfeld,
2003?
I think, was 98 was their last season. Yeah, 98.
So 2003, I would expect it to still be pretty high on the list.
Yeah. I think this was probably current shows, not ones in syndication, I guess, maybe. I'm curious because your company, Moosylvania, does a lot of different identity, brand development. Let's go back to the beginning, your origin story. How did you get attached to Moosylvania, and what was your initial role with the company?
Yeah, I got a good story. It was 2012. I took a class called Growing a Family Business with my dad, who is the CEO and founder. And they were like, the teacher was like, you guys got to work together because there's only, so many people that can work with their family. And the teacher was working with his son at the time. My dad looked over at me and he's like, I really don't know if I really want to work with this kid. I was trying not to, but he took the class, and I came in and I worked at his other company that he owned, which was a focus group company called Hatch Global Research. Hatch was working out of the school side of the church, which we run out of right now, which is pretty neat in its own right, 100-year-old church in Maplewood. And so I walk into this kind of business and I'm thinking to myself, I have an MBA. I'm ready to get to work. I know the ad business is like what's happening there, and he's got me in this side business. I go on a couple of trips to figure out if I can sell software for this focus group company, which he was trying to get people to sign on to this company called TrackMan, which was their software that he was developing for the focus group industry via the ad agency's creative and development chops. So I'm going out there at 23 acting like I know whatever, and I know nothing. I looked over at my dad about 2 months in, and I said, sell this company and sell it today because it's not going anywhere. The software is not going to work yet. Nobody's ready for it. If you can get out, get out. Same day, somebody called them, offered to buy the business. Pretty wild, all things considered. So I had no job. And I was like, well, that worked out, but also backfired. So I ended up becoming a copywriter and community manager over at Moose, and kind of worked my way up the chart all the way to where I am now. It's been a good wild ride of learning about creative business. I'm more kind of coming from a business side from where I sit, but the creative juice is there, obviously, to make collaborations and do cool stuff. So I ran the social team for a while, which is great because this is a product kind of inspired by social media. Then I was the chief operating officer, into chief strategy, and I get to have a lot of fun every day. I mean, our clients are cool. They're in alcohol, tobacco, and finance with a little bit of everything else wrapped in between. But 21 years is an accomplishment for agencies.
Absolutely.
Because I think it said something like 15% of agencies make it past 20 years.
Wow.
So we're looking really good. We're still independent, which is pretty unique too. And I think Nordy kind of just instilled this idea on everybody that if you don't have a good day, like you're in the wrong spot, because you should be having a lot of fun doing what you're doing.
When I think of, and this might be for most people, but I don't like speak for everyone. When I think of ad agencies, obviously you think of Mad Men.
You have to.
Or you think of like the movie. I'm a sucker for a good romantic comedy. So What Women Want with Mel Gibson and Helen
I think
Hunt.
that was almost 2003. We got to go back on that. I think it was close.
99, I think, if I remember correctly. But you always have these ideas of ad agencies, and usually you think of New York, LA, now obviously Atlanta. You guys are based in St. Louis. What are some of the challenges and also some of the advantages of being a Midwest-based advertising company?
Yeah, it's the internet is powerful now. So, I mean, even if you're from here, you still can get the reach and the abilities of anybody on the coast. I think you get looked at a little differently from businesses on the coast. Like, do you have the chops? Are you as good as those individuals? But work stands up for itself, I think. And I think the difference is our rates have always been a little bit more affordable than the coast. Both on the from a client perspective, we're a little easier to work with, I think, than most. But then on top of it, from what we treat our teammates like, we get to treat them really well, give them huge benefits, and make them feel good. And what's crazy is that a lot of agencies today that work on the coast, they outsource and freelance so much business. People are there for so short of time. Our tenure is outrageous. I mean, we have probably half our staff at least at 4 or 5 years in. We got some people that have been there for 10, 12, 15 years, 18 years. And we have a real low turnover rate because I think in this business, there's only a couple agencies in St. Louis with that kind of firepower, and we kind of just make sure we treat everybody with respect.
And I think, if I'm not mistaken, it was 2023. You guys were voted one of the best places to work by St. Louis Post-Dispatch.
We were. That was a big accomplishment. I think culture is really tough in our business, especially after COVID, because you just don't get to hang out as much anymore. And I think that's kind of where the business is built. So we were really proud of that, because it's hard to make everybody happy today, right? Everyone's got a different life based after COVID. So I think we're really proud of that. We're also really proud of being able to do what we want, make a beer, celebrate ourselves, celebrate life. And also I think that, you get to the holiday season and you kind of get beat, you're just kind of like, everybody's tired. And this energy is just kind of like, we just kind of a new volt of Voltron, from the Four Hands crew. And it's fun to have something different for yourself. We've been making merchandise since 2003 for our clients, like as a holiday gift. Mm-hmm. And we've got the gamut of weird tchotchke stuff. And this has got to take the cake.
I'm sure.
That we finally have something that we could, go have a beer together after 21 years. But we are making more holiday merch, not to give the sneak peek away, for this year. And it's all inspired by 2003 bars and just like old school bars that like we love. So Cheers, we made a hat themed after Cheers. We got the oldest bar, like the Always Sunny kind of vibe from that bar. We have Moe's Tavern from The Simpsons. So we kind of have a bunch of parody stuff that we're doing, just because, like, why not have your whole 21st birthday just be at a bar?
Yeah, and relive all the highlights of the year you were born.
It's a good
2003. We're going to take our very last commercial break. We're going to come right back in just a moment, and we'll wrap things up. Again, I haven't looked at the text lines. If you texted, I apologize. I'll look at those during the commercial break here. 84126. If you have a question or a comment at all, you're listening to Geek to Me Radio on the Big 550 KTRS. Please stand by.
Hey, this is John Heater. I played Napoleon Dynamite and other unforgettable characters, and you're listening to Geek to Me Radio. I guess it's a pretty good station. I've never heard it or anything.
2004 was Napoleon Dynamite, but we appreciate it nonetheless. The voice of John Heater bringing us back from commercial break. We'll make sure we tell you about our official comic book sponsor, and that, of course, would be Bugs Comics and Games. If you have not yet got Batman All In from DC Comics, the one that Scott Snyder is now doing. If you have not checked out The Incredible Hulk lately, we've had Philip Kennedy Johnson on a couple weeks ago talking about his run on that. Get to your local comic book store and get these comics. Bugs Comics is in O'Fallon, Missouri, right there off of Bryan Road, easily accessible from either Highway 364 or from Highway 70. Go check them out. Tell Larry that you heard about it here on Geek to Me Radio, and you can get your new weekly comics. You can go through his boxes and boxes of back issues, because I always say it's not a real comic book store unless they have back issues I can go through. And he's got stuff from Silver Age. He's got the first Thing versus Hulk fight from Fantastic Four number 25. He has the first appearance of Punisher, Amazing Spider-Man number 129. And he's got newer comics too, ranging all the way through from the Marvel Comics Transformers run and anything else you might want. He's got toys, games. You can get your supplies there. The secret is, though, and gather around your radio, kids, listen up. Join the Avengers Club. Just go in and say, hey, I want to be part of the Avengers Club. You start saving money on your new issues, your back issues, your toys, your games, your bag, your boards, your Pokemon cards, whatever it is you're buying. So that way you don't have to sacrifice your hobby. You can save money and still partake. So it's a win-win-win for everyone involved. Larry's been doing this for quite a while. I was old enough where I had to ride my bike up to him before I ever had my license when he had his first store on West Florissant. So he knows everything there is to know about comics, and he'll pull some obscure character out of his hat and be like, oh, remember when this happened? He'll tell you the issue, the page, and the panel it happened on. So if you are wanting to get back into comics, maybe you took a break and you don't even know where to start because you're overwhelmed, or maybe you're watching, these comic book shows like Moon Knight on Disney Plus, or you've just watched the Marvels, or hey, I heard the Blade movie got canceled, and you want to kind of see what the comic book backstory is. Go ask Larry. He's not going to put you into some expensive comic. He'll show you, hey, I got these comics in the dollar box. This is a great way to get into that character. So it's like having your own personal comic concierge. Bugs Comics and Games on Facebook. You can also find him on Instagram, Bugs Comics and A&D Games. He puts comic books up there. So if you're listening outside the greater St. Louis and St. Charles area, if you're hearing us in another state, another country, go to Instagram, say, hey, that comic you posted, I want that. He sends you a PayPal invoice. You pay the invoice. He ships the comic straight to you Easy peasy. So check them out, Bugs Comics and Games. Very proud to have them as the official comic book sponsor here on Geek to Me Radio. We're finishing up the hour talking with Andrew Cohen, the Chief Strategic Officer for Moosylvania. I wanted to ask you about trends in advertising. Obviously, things kind of ebb and flow. It's something, obviously, in your career you have to kind of stay on top of. What are some of the things you've seen change from 2003, the way advertising and marketing was? What are some of the biggest changes you think the industry's gone through to current time?
Yeah, I mean, social media definitely takes the cake. I mean, man, you could just spend hours on this thing. What's crazy is that so many people now don't even really watch TV or movies or all the shows because they just have the phone out and they just zone into that. Before, it was like the phone was just there to kind of offset your commercial break, but now it's taken over.
Yeah.
Social media, I think, is definitely the thing that continues to be everyone's topic and thought process. I think sometimes it's overwhelming. I hate the stories about all these kids having kids now. I'm like, well, you know, what age is a good age for an Instagram account? God.
Right.
I think the things that are going to keep changing, everyone talks about AI. I think AI has been around for a long time. It's just been more easy to access and understand for the simpleton. You know, it's, hey, you can just type it in like Google and just start pounding away. You know, it's pretty crazy. I think that AI has been around and will continue to be a trend. For us specifically, I think there is no replacing really good creative ideas. AI couldn't come up with a cool beer like this and make this happen, but it could inspire you for a name. It could inspire you for a bunch of other things.
Sure.
And so I don't be afraid of it, I think, is kind of the message. And the trends, I think, in advertising and the ups and downs are a matter of people that watch stuff all the time and are engaged with brands are all about getting entertained. I was sitting in a brainstorm with Four Hands team this past week, and I'm like, they're doing this amazing stuff with Citywide about giving back to charity. $350,000 have been given back. And they said, well, we never have that big check, you know, Happy Gilmore style where you're not expecting it. And he goes, isn't that a great story? I said, Kevin, that's a great story. But people like to be entertained. And it's wonderful what you're doing. Keep doing it. But you should also think about how we're going to entertain these guys. And so we had a killer brainstorm just rocking off of that because people today are just so used to being constantly entertained with where the internet is that if you don't, it's hard to get their attention. We used to have a stat about how long you got the human attention for. It was less than 6 seconds or something like that, right? We've been doing good today. I feel like that's kind of the key in advertising is how much attention can you get? How long can you keep it? Can you entertain somebody? Can you do it in a cool, different way? And if you can do all those things, I think at the end of the day, there's a lot more consumers sniffing out the BS and actually caring for companies that do the right thing. But it'll take another 4 or 5, maybe 10 years before that's really, really important because I think a lot of companies, we do a lot in sustainability. A lot of companies say they're going to do a lot, and then 4 or 5 years later, it doesn't happen, and they don't really care if they didn't make it. They put it out there to get somebody to say yes to them. So, you know, sticking to what you believe in, who you are as a company, as a brand, and backing it, it's going to keep being important. Mm-hmm. Maybe it's just not it's a 5-year, look out, but maybe not a full-blown, let's talk about this upcoming year. I think this upcoming year is about news. We just saw a lot of election news. It's about what you can put out there.
There was an election?
There was. The Apprentice was on, you know. And I think that's what advertising comes down to is getting news, whether it's making it, getting it said about yourself. Hopefully it's all positive from the fan base, but everybody can get ratted out real quick, you know. So you got to be careful out there, I think, too, and do what's right for your fans.
I wish we had more time. We've only got about 5 minutes left before my outro music is going to play. A couple things I wanted to ask you about, though. First of all, I want to remind everyone, Moose Space Beer, available at Schnucks and at all the Four Hands locations. If you go into a Four Hands location specifically, do they have it on tap or is it strictly in the can? Okay.
They got it on tap, too.
Okay.
It's super
Because I know
killer.
we have some beer snobs who listen to this and are like, I only want it on tap.
Yeah, I saw it on the Untapped app, which is Super Beer Vibes, has some good ratings already about it. You can get it on tap a lot of places, too. They're picking up more places. But, yeah, in the can or on tap.
Okay. With advertising, you mentioned all the social media stuff. I'm curious because there's such a flux right now. People are just jumping off of Twitter. Just this week, I lost 180 followers on Twitter. Everyone else complaining. I've got friends of mine. Why aren't you on Blue Sky yet? I'm assuming as a company, especially kind of deals in this, you have to be very nimble. Do you see Twitter ever going away, though? Because it's such a massive platform, and I know there's blowback, but I'm not leaving. I enjoyed my Twitter. I built some great interactions over there. Do you think it's going to maintain, like we'll have a decline and it'll kind of fall off and just stay? Or is Twitter something that's going to go the way of MySpace?
I think all platforms do have a run. I don't think Twitter is on the out just yet, but I do think it's been having a bad run. Previous to Elon, it was having a bad run. I think it's a cool platform that's kind of gotten overlooked by the next generation because of how simple it can be. It's not a over-the-top video first, everything is moving 24/7 random. It is a version of what you like to kind of have just a couple of characters with people, or you could go, comment on stuff, and it wasn't so much of like what it is today. So I don't see it going away, but one day it will. Just like I feel like Facebook is kind of the same way. It's kind of got a good thing, and then it's no longer popular. Instagram's moving up. Snapchat's kind of a weird thing. Everything kind of has a run, just the length of it. Who knows? 20 years later, you might make a beer about Twitter. It's like it doesn't really – there's really no goodbye. There's only a type of audience that heavily uses it, and if the audience kind of sees value, then it'll stay. But social media just comes and goes, man. I mean, TikTok is wild, and it's been around. You wouldn't even know what those words were 3 years ago. So it's crazy as hell. But we kind of love it, right? That's kind of the whole point. You get kind of addicted to the next thing.
And just a couple minutes left, I wanted to ask you, because obviously the trade I dabble in is mostly nostalgia.
Yeah.
And I always feel, you mentioned entertainment and people want to be entertained. What aspect does nostalgia, obviously what you've just done with this beer is dealing into nostalgia. Is there still a high aspect for nostalgia is in advertising?
Yeah, I think a lot of cool ideas come back in nostalgia. I think in our can, we got an iTunes logo here on that's kind of Moose inspired. The MySpace site's obviously nostalgic. I think the experiences of nostalgia do something different to your brain. And I feel like that is the type of thing that advertising really tries to hit is emotion a lot, right? You're trying to get emotion out of your ads. And so I think if you can find some in nostalgia, you should definitely take advantage of it. Some brands are just straight up iconic. That's what they were, and you need to validate them. Like we had this party, and everyone's like Juicy Couture sweatsuits and jumpsuits were the thing, and it's like that's iconic. That's nostalgic for you. You still remember wearing it. So I think like Jinko jeans was like our thing. Like that was like it was like all this stuff that you remember is still makes you feel a certain way. So I think if you can find nostalgia in any profession, you can have a good time with it because it's just something that I think brings back a different kind of memory, and it also kind of just makes you remember that 20 years ago for us was a long time ago. Yeah. And it's kind of cool to look back on it and still be doing cool stuff 21 years later.
Yeah, and it kind of hurts my brain, like we said off air. Someone says, "Oh, this movie came out in '98. Great, so 10 years ago." Oh crap, nope, that was almost 30
In the
years
Club
ago.
was like the song. Like you still hear it on the radio. You're like, that's 21 years ago.
Yeah, even like some of the songs, I can't remember what song I came on the radio. And I'm like, oh, this is about 10 years old. My wife just looks at me and she's like, really?
Yeah.
Okay,
wow.
Sorry.
It is what it is.
You don't know until it happens. But it's been fantastic. I wish we had more time. I've had another hour. We could talk more. There's so much to do. But I want to make sure we tell everyone again, it's Moose Space Beer. You can get it. It's from Four Hands. It's Schnucks. I guess other retail locations will probably sell other than just Schnucks because we
got like some Total Wine and Cheese place, some other places. But you also can go to moosespacebeer.com and just go cruise. You can do it right now without even getting the beer and just check it out. So if you want to have a good time on our Moose Space inspired MySpace, you can. But yeah, you can go get it a lot of places. If you don't know, hit us up in the DMs on Moosylvania. We'll help you get it.
And it's Moosylvania.com. If you're listening to this after the fact in the podcast form, we're going to have a link to Moosylvania.com in the show notes. So you can just scroll down the page and click there. Best place if people want to find out more about you online. Are you very active on socials?
Yeah, LinkedIn has been more fun than not lately. I don't know why. I've been kind of cruising through it. And it's I think it's a place where you kind of connected your business brain and your kind of creative brain a little bit to like see what you're doing. So if you want to find me on there, come holler at me. I'm kind of active in making sure I stay relevant with what I'm talking about. So that's a good place. Or you can show up at our church, 7303 Marietta in Maplewood. We'll be happy to hang out.
Very cool. Again, it's Moosylvania.com. The beer is Moose Space, play on MySpace. Andrew Cohen, thank you so much for your time. This has been a fabulous conversation.
Thanks, man.
And for those of you listening, I do appreciate everyone who tunes in. Make sure if you haven't already shared this, hijack your friend's phone, go to their YouTube app and subscribe to Geek to Me Radio. Hit the little bell notification. That way you always get notified when Joey V's in the studio, and we do go live with the video stream as well. You can check us out. I left my calendar at home, so I can't even tell you who we have on the show the next 2 weeks, but we've got some great guests lined up. We're booked all the way through mid-December, and then we'll see what happens from there. I'll be at Days of the Dead in Chicago next Saturday. If you're wanting to catch up with me, if you're in Chicago and you see me running around, say hi. I'm going to go up there and we're going to talk to Oded Fair. Michael Cudlitz from The Walking Dead and from Superman and Lois will be there. A bunch of great stars. So make sure you check out the website daysofthedead.com. Not that they're a sponsor of the show, but it seems like a fun event. I'll be there on Saturday, so hopefully I will see you there too. Thank you very much to the City of St. Charles, Greater St. Charles Convention and Visitors Bureau, Bugs, Comics, and Games. And make sure to check out tworiverscomiccon.com. Until next week, my friends.
This is Geek to Me Radio. That's our show.